worship you, Lord, King of kings and Lord of lords. Oh, so great you are, doing marvelous things. Everything written about you, yeah.
I love you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I love you. Oh, I thank you, Jesus. God, you are merciful. You are kind. I love you. Take all the glory, take all the honor. Mercy is your name.
You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are 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 great. Oh yeah. You are great. Say you are great. You are great. Say you are great. You are great. Everything, yeah.
Everything written about you is great.
You are great.
You are great.
You are great.
You are great.
Oh, you are great. You are.
You are great.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Say you are great. You are.
You are great.
Worship you today.
You are
Oh,
great.
everything.
Everything written about you is great.
before the floods. Oh, so great you are, doing marvelous things. Everything written about you, yeah.
I love you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I love you. Oh, I thank you, Jesus. God, you are merciful. You are kind. I love you. Take all the glory, take all the honor. Mercy is your name.
You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are 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 great. Oh yeah. You are great. Say you are great. You are great. Say you are great. You are great. Everything, yeah. Everything written about you is great. You are great. You are great. You are great. Oh, so great you are, doing marvelous things. Everything written about you, yeah.
I love you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I love you. Oh, I thank you, Jesus. God, you are merciful. You are kind. I love you. Take all the glory, take all the honor. Mercy is your name.
You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great. You are great. You are great. You are great. Oh yeah. Say you are great. Say you are great. Everything, yeah.
Everything about you is great.
You are great. You are great. Oh, you are great. You are. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Say you are great. You are. Worship you today. Everything.
Everything about you is great.
Worship you today. Give you all the praise. Yeah. Mighty God. Worship you today. Give you all the praise. As we lift our hands to you, we place our in our hearts. Raise our voice to say, everything about you is great. It's we can do. Worship you today. We give you all the praise. As we lift our hands to you, we place our in our hearts. We raise our voice to say, everything about you is great. Demons tremble at your praise. What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God we serve. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, everything, yeah. kings and Lord of lords. Oh, so great you are, doing marvelous things. Everything about you, yeah.
I love you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I love you. Oh, I thank you, Jesus. God, you are merciful. You are kind. I love you. Take all the glory, take all the honor. Mercy is your name.
You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are 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 great. Oh yeah. You are great. Say you are great. You are great. Say you are great. You are great. Everything, yeah. Everything written about you is great. You are great. You are great. You are great. King of kings and Lord of lords. Oh, so great you are, doing marvelous things. Everything written about you, yeah.
I love you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I love you. Oh, I thank you, Jesus. God, you are merciful. You are kind. I love you. Take all the glory, take all the honor. Mercy is your name.
You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great, yes, you are Holy One. Walked upon the sea, raised the dead. You reign in majesty, mighty God. Everything written about you is great. You are great. You are great. You are great. You are great. Oh yeah. Say you are great. Say you are great.
Father, we thank you, appreciate you, we worship and exalt you for such a moment like this in your presence, for our fathers in the house, the mothers in the house, and the children. For it is not by our own making that we are here again this year. We return all glory and honor back to you, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus. As we have gathered to hear from you, Lord, speak to us, O Lord, in the mighty name of Jesus. Open our heart and our ears to hear from you, in the mighty name of Jesus. And everyone shall return home with good news, in the mighty name of Jesus. Father, I thank you for answer prayer. For in Jesus' precious name we have prayed. Amen. Let's give a clap offering to the fathers in the house. I don't know why the church is not that full. When our mothers, when they are celebrating, the whole place will be filled up. But now that the fathers are here, I don't know. It's the way we men are wired. It's the way God has created us. We can't change the way He has created us. Men can think, sit down, think deeply, and see what they want to do. Women, they can plan. They will be planning what they want to do next year. They will start planning now. But we men, once it approaches, we gather ourselves, we do it, we want to do it, and leave the scene. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I will read a scripture about man. The title of my message is Fatherhood. Fatherhood. Praise the Lord. Let's open our Bible to Genesis 3. Genesis chapter 3. We all know all the stories, how it happened in the Garden of Eden, where Eve called Adam and gave him something to eat, and God placed a curse. I'll read verse 16. What God said unto woman. He said, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. He shall rule over thee. That's he's talking to woman. Then unto the man he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree, of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground of thy sake. In sorrow thou shalt eat of it all the days of thy life. And if you go down to 24, you see so many things God said to man. And God now, throughout Old Testament, He looked out who will go back to redeem man. There was no one that wants to come. There was no one that was qualified. He now noticed, okay, I made this man live as a man. He failed. Let me now see. Let me try this way. By conception, and see how man will grow through that process. That's where Jesus' night comes in. They have prophesied the coming of Jesus right from the Old Testament in Isaiah. If you see, there's what we call a boy. A boy is, if you have boys at home, they receive spanking. The Bible says, don't spare the rod. Because if you spare it, you will spoil the child. You don't spare the child, even the girl, you don't spare them. My children knows me. My hand is so fast. Once you miss it, I give you one immediately. If you cry, I will now draw them closer. You don't do that, you don't do that. Like the youngest was asking me this morning. Every morning I do play gospel music. So he was watching them this morning. And now saw one of those guys singing gospel message, putting on hearing, wearing hearing. He now asked me, Daddy, do boys wear hearing? I said, no. I said, singing in gospel song doesn't mean you are born again. I said, it's wrong, it's not biblical. So from boy to a man, a boy will receive spanking. When they get it wrong, you correct them immediately. But a man will be disciplined. When you miss it in the office, in anywhere, they discipline you. They don't need to talk. They will send a memo to you, whether going on a special, or if you miss it in the church or before God, it's discipline. Then when we now come to husband receive correction. Husband, you have to have a father figure. There must be someone in your life that one can call, that this man, the way he's going, is wrong. And the person will be the person to correct that husband. Once husband miss it, the body now fall on the woman. And it's going to be a serious and heavy task for the woman. Because the husband of the house, he said, if the head is faulty, there's nothing the body can do. Because the eyes is there to see everything, the mouth is there to say it, and the ear is there to hear it. But once the head misses it, it affects the whole body. Praise the Lord. And when it comes to a father, if you now become a father, you receive instructions. You follow the instructions. There are people that have gone ahead of you. There are people you're going together on the same level. And there are people coming behind you. You will learn from each and every one. This is just to break down how to get to fatherhood. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. My message is going to be so short. I'll give points and Bible references. Praise the Lord. Let's open to John chapter 14, verse 6. To redeem man back in reconciliation with God. You know, when Jesus was praying in that Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed to God. He said, please, God, if this cup can pass over me, he's telling God, if there's any other way that you can do it, that man can be redeemed. But he said, God, let that will be done. And when he now went onto the cross and died, he said, Jesus kept telling them, John 14:16 says, Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. That means if you are not in Christ, you can't get through to God. If you want to go by the old law, no one can face it. Because then, if you commit any offense or any sin, God comes directly and punishes that person. Like what we learn from the Bible. Studies this morning concerning Eli. Eli was a priest, and the children were messing up the church, the offering in the church. And there's nothing Eli tried talking to them, but that was not so, it's not that tough the way he was doing it. And I remember one thing about those of us that grew back home. If you grew up calling your dad Bami, your mom Mami, or your dad, you're calling it Papa, Mama, the discipline is there. You know what it takes to grow up. But when things started changing, I'm not saying calling father, daddy is wrong, but when things started changing, we were changing with it. And if you don't take cognizance of the Bible and study with the word with the children, they will grow up being another person. What I do with my kids mostly Saturday, I'll say, study the Bible. When it gets to around evening, maybe around 4, if I'm around, we discuss it. Or on Sunday, we discuss this. Because the kind of life in this land, if one is not careful, it will take one away from the presence of God. Because they are so designed that sometimes you have to work on Sundays. I worked nights yesterday. I came back 6 a.m. My wife has to report by 7 a.m. And we have to meet up the differences. That's why when I see parents, maybe the husband is here, the wife is somewhere else, the parenthood is what we call parenthood. Both the husband and the wife, they must have a contribution in the well-being of the children growing up. And I've seen a lot of things in the work, where I work, because the work I do night, we move around. And we see them walking around 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You see children, young children. And this is where our children, some of them are in school with our children. I pray the Lord will help us in the mighty name of Jesus. So Elijah to Elisha, it was a father and a son. If you are growing up, you have spiritual father and your physical father that brought you into this planet Earth. The instruction you will receive from your physical father, now your natural father, will be different from the one bringing you up spiritually. And I've learned from this assembly, there's no time I call on anyone. I hold people in high esteem. Once I meet them, the thing I do most, I humble myself before any man. No matter how small you are, no matter how big you are. The people training me where I'm working presently, they are 24, 23, 25. You have to humble yourself for you to move up. Because humility will take you to a position in life. It's character that will keep you there. It's character. If you have a bad character, you ain't going anywhere. Praise the Lord. I will cite some Bible verses so that I won't take our time. In Genesis 5:22 to 24, about Enoch. Genesis 5:22 to 24. To 24. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat son and daughter. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And 24 it says, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. He walked with God. When a man starts growing up, you want to get this, you want to get that, you want to prepare yourself because you are bringing in a wife. You are bringing in children. And God has placed it upon a man that man must take care of the home. No matter what it takes, you have to provide for the home. And if you are able to do that, growing up under your father and your mom, you will learn some things when you get close to your father. Like what I did, I was very close to my dad. He picked me because he was the treasurer of the church for years. We were born into the Salvation Army. So every Saturday, we have to be in church for what we call that joy hour. It's meant for children. That's how we are trained up. And every one of us, once you get to an age, you enter into the junior choir. From the junior choir, you go to the senior choir. Then you now become a youth in the church. That was the process. I took after him so many things. My dad was a giver. That was why my wife was saying it during my birthday. He said, my husband is a giver. I don't care whatever I have. If it's to move the kingdom of God forward or to assist someone to get out of any issue, I don't care what I have, but I make sure God first, my household first, and I treat myself nice. I don't waste money. I treat myself nice. There are some restaurants I've been to in this land. I treat myself nice. I don't spend unwisely, but I make sure I treat myself nice. Because if you don't eat good food, to get old, when it's getting to 60, 70, it will be something else. It will be something. During my work experience, where I'm working presently, one of them asked me, how old are you? I told him my age. He said it's a lie. I said, I'm not joking. He said I celebrated my 50th last year. The guy he's around 36 or so. He said I should guess his age. I said, I don't guess. But, the guy now, he was wondering that I don't look it. I know it's God. It's not me. It's not me. When you serve God, he said he makes my youth renew like the eagles. Every lawyer you see, when they get to law court, if you don't have the right law to quote, you can't win that case. So also in the Bible, for every issue of life, there is a Bible verse, more than 10. If you are facing any issue, you confess it. Confess it day in, day out, night. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Sorry, I'm not a good teacher, but I'm saying it. I have to preach it the way I know everyone will understand. Hallelujah. Then Abraham in Genesis 18 to 19. It says, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him, for I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. Guiding your children in the way of the Lord. It's not about bringing them to church alone, telling them to study the Bible. They have to know some confession. They have to be seen every day. Like every morning when we finish praying, we have confessions after prayer. It's mandatory that every children should know those things. And it's the responsibility of the father to guide them and treat them. And the mother is to pray for the father Because men, what we do, we think deep. When challenges come, you can see it in the face of a man. When a man is approaching you, if there are challenges, you will read it immediately. Even from the response from the phone. The women, they are so emotional. They are so emotional. Women, they can keep things. They might not tell you. The men, once you approach anyone, like the way I do, if I'm facing any challenge, I might just call someone I know. I have a particular friend facing so issue. How do you think they can resolve it? Once you gather the advice, maybe from 2 or 3 people, you find a solution to it. But mostly, I will tell my wife. Because when they kneel down and pray, heavens open. Heaven opens. Man will like giving command because God has said, you are a priest and a king. And wherever the word of a king gets to, there is power. So when you issue a word, it goes and it takes care of everything. But not to say, I'm the head of this family. No, it doesn't work that way. Being the head doesn't mean you have to order people around. You have to consider your wife, her emotions, and the children. You have to carry them along. Praise the Lord. So I will give 2, maybe 3, 4 points. How to determine a father. Trust and believe in that person. The person you're looking at as a father figure, you trust him. Like I have one in this city, Saskatoon. Anytime I call, I receive a response. There must be someone ahead of you spiritually that you can call on at any time. You can't do it all alone. But God is here. You can talk to God, call Father, discuss whatever I want to discuss with God. Me, I do it like discussion. I don't do it as if I'm praying. I will do it as if I'm discussing with someone. That's the way I pray. Praise the Lord. And the next point is maintain great respect for him. Maintain a great respect for that father figure. You can be busy somewhere doing something, and that father figure will call you. I don't want to take this call now. No matter what, my father in the Lord, if he calls me and I'm driving, I will cut it. I will find somewhere to park and call back. Because you can hardly see a father, your natural father, calling you. If you see his call, hello, sir, hope there's no problem. That's the first thing that will come to your mind. Because father hardly calls their son. The mother, they call them at regular basis. They are not far from their kids. That was what we discussed this morning. Mother, they so caring, they call their children. They want to find out their well-being at every time. Like before my mom passed on, I make sure every month, I don't send it to her account. Once I collect my pay, I will count her own, go and give it to her. She will pray. And my father in the Lord, I will go and give him cash. I don't do transfer. Because if you do transfer, you'll be looking for ways to get to the bank. You go and queue again. On that Sunday, I will just give it to him. He will pray over him. I did it continuously before I got here, and I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. The thing is, when you have a father figure, when that person kneel down to pray, There are general prayers for church, and there are prayers for son. The father figure will pray for his household. He will remember the person that ministered unto him. You can see the place Timothy took in the life of Paul, and the way Paul used to pray for Timothy before he leaves. The father figure we see ahead of you. Before we came to Canada, me and my wife, we've been on it. We will go. I'm not going. I will go. I'm not following you. Because where she was working is a good place. She has just been promoted as an assistant manager. I'm a civil servant. Let's go because of the kid. When we went to meet my pastor, we told him, sir, we want to relocate to Canada. He said, hold on, call me my wife. When the wife now came, he said, what did I tell you about these couples 2 weeks ago? He said, you saw them in Canada. They are planning to relocate. I never discussed it with him. We never discussed it with anybody in the church. Until that time, and he said it's done. If you are going, you're going there to preach the gospel. And I've said it, there's nothing that can come between me and my God. I remember when we were back in Nigeria, there was a day my wife said she's not going to the church, that she's tired. I said, okay, my own salvation can't deliver you. I have a race to run. You have a race to run. We are finishing separately. Yours is to support my ministry. And I picked the children, we went to church. We came back. My wife used to tell me, said, I do behave like a military man. I said, no, it's the way I was trained. My dad, I follow him, he was very thorough, and I have to be thorough in everything. Not that I don't bend the rule in the house, I do. But I have to follow the instruction of God to the last. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Another point is, accept him as father and authority over you. Romans 30:17. Romans 30:17. Is it 30? No. It should be. It's not 30. It's not Romans. It's not Romans. I pick a wrong Bible chapter there. Let me go on to the point. Accept him as father and authority. One thing is, if you agree that this person will be the person guiding you in anything you want to do, when he calls you, please can you do this thing? I want it to get done by so period. Like when Pastor said, you're going to be in ushering team. It's the work of the Lord. I can't reject it. There's a magistrate I know in Lagos State. He's a sanctuary keeper in the Redeemed Christian Church. A magistrate. I know her one-on-one. And anytime they go to camp, they go ahead of people coming, cleaning where people will sit. She's a magistrate. She's married. She has children. She didn't look at her status as a magistrate. She see the work of God. These things must move forward. She was not a magistrate when she joined the court. It was promotion that took her out to that level. And following God's instruction takes you further in life. Praise the Lord. And another point, you minister to him in substance. If you have someone as a father figure, you minister to that man in substance. I spoke with one of the pastor's wife in Redeem. She's the wife of the pastor somewhere in Pangrove. She was facing a particular issue, facing a particular challenge. So I now called, she called me back from Nigeria while I was here. She said she's facing so challenge. And I told him, why not fast, pray, and do a sacrifice? And tell God this is what you want. He said, how will she present the sacrifice? He said, look at your pastor in the house. Just minister to your pastor. He said, my husband is the pastor. It doesn't matter. There you look at your husband as the pastor in that church. He's the father figure in the church. He's your husband too. Package something, give it to him, and see how he will pray. It might look funny to you or to him, but there's something God is seeing that we are not seeing. I told her, just go ahead, do that, and you can call me back to know the result. I know she will have done that. She support the project of the church. But I said, package something, give him hand to hand. You see how we pray for you. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Also pray for him. Anyone as a father figure for you, you pray for him as he prays for you too. Pray for him as he's praying for you. Because there's no man that doesn't face any challenge. Pastors face challenges. They do. It's the prayer of the church that holds the pastor, not his own prayer alone. The prayer of the church for the pastors too goes a long way. And when you remember him praying in prayer, he too remembers you in prayer. Then things will move on the way it ought to move. Praise the Lord. Then we have Jesus submitted to John the Baptist. It's not that Jesus cannot do what John the Baptist did for him, but he has to submit himself to him. So that what God wants to come to pass will come to pass. He submitted himself, and John the Baptist did what he thought to do, because it has been said, you need to go to John the Baptist, and John the Baptist will baptize him with water, and the Holy Spirit will come upon him like a dove. And he did that, and heaven opened. Praise the Lord. And in so many ways, we might have tried so many things, but I'm telling you, the way I've been doing it is the way I'm teaching. I don't hide anything from my wife. When I want to do anything, I will tell her, this is what I want to do. She can advise me on how to go about it. Because I don't do anything that will affect my home or affect me or affect the church. I'll make sure I take the church first, take God's words first, my home, then I treat myself fine. I don't joke, because this life, God has given it to us, we have to live it more abundantly. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Man was created because he was wanted. Women are created because she was needed. A man needs a woman. God needs a man because he wanted a man to take care of the garden. And when God now sees that the way man was moving, he needs someone to come in. And when man failed, God has to send man out. If you remember in the Bible, when Jesus fed the 5,000, actually it was not 5,000. It was men that were counted to be 5,000. They didn't count women, they didn't count children. That's how God raised man. Men first, before woman. But you have to listen to your wife. You have to listen to your children. No matter what the children does, don't spare the rod, spank them, and correct them. But for man, it's a different case. The Bible says, a man shall leave his parents and be cleaved to his wife, and they shall become one. Once they become one, he now become husband and wife. And for husband, you grew up in a different background. The wife grew up in a different background. The two coming together, no matter your courtship, even if it lasts for 10 years, when you get married, the first month or first year, there are quarrels. There are some things that will come up that you will quarrel over. It might be money, it might be building. You might be looking at that different projects. Your wife may be looking at another project. You have to marry the two ideas together. Okay, let's prioritize our projects. My wife believes in building first. Me, I believe the church first. So how do we do it? We have to marry it together so that things can move on. We quarrel over it for some time. And I remember my mom gave me a land in a good environment in Lagos. I told her, let's sell this land and I will share with my siblings that I'm not ready for that thing. She went ahead and discussed with my mom. My mom said, no, I must not sell it. You have to build on that land. Okay, I took up the challenge. We started, at the end of the day, that land, when we did the foundation, telling you, 2 days after, when I got there, they have broken the foundation. They placed a fence around the land. That means you have to go to court to claim it. And I called her, say you have the time to go to court, or you have the money. Me as a person, my work will not allow me. Because like what we discussed this morning in Bible school, when you like one child more than the other, it brings a problem. Because the one you don't give attention to, you don't attend to, that one will stay away from you. I won't be able to know what that child is passing through or any decision that child wants to take. So like that, being the first son in the family, my mom wants to tell me everything. She wants to give me everything. And I have siblings. They are boys too. My elder sister, she's there. You can't be doing things for me alone because it will bring segregation between the siblings. So I have to stay away from her. She stays with my sister, and she will call me, I want to see you. She preferred to tell me, to tell others what she wanted. And me, I said, tell my sister, she will tell us what to do. That was her bone of contention throughout before she now agrees to be doing that way. And I thank the Lord. Sorry, I've taken the time too much. I remember before I got married, there's a book I read, Breaking Generational Curses. As a man, there are some things that are hereditary. You have to fight that one out first before you bring anybody in. Those are the key things for a man to do. You have to break those yoke first. Because once you bring them in, and children start coming in, you won't have time to study this word again as you used to as a single. When my wife met me, she met me in a room and his parlor apartment. I have tapes I listen to. I have books I read. She was wondering, is this the man I want to marry? and I was just about going to school. She was a graduate when I met her. She was now wondering. She has to call her mom, her father in the Lord, back in her town, sending my name to confirm whether this is the right person. Because what she was seeing is different from what I'm seeing. I'm telling you right now, they do call me their dad in their family. They call me their dad because they never thought I can transform their sister that way. They never thought of it. But I give glory to the Lord for today. She's not here. I don't think she's here now. She'll be looking at me with one kind of eye. Praise the Lord. So many things like that. There's no perfect marriage except the marriage of the Lord. There's no perfect man except Jesus. There's no perfect woman on this land we're living. No. Everybody is trying to make up. And at the end of the day, I pray that every one of us will get to where God has destined for us to get to, in the mighty name of Jesus. I don't have anything to say. That father figure is something we need to look into in the Christendom. If you don't have anything anyone you're looking up to, you can't do it all alone. I grew up in a divorce setting. Not that my mom was with my dad. We grew up like in that setting. And my mom was staying in another far place. We were with my dad. And my dad remarried like 3 wives. You know, there's a lot you battle before you get into marriage. You have to set all those ones before you get into marriage. As a man, those are the primary assignment for man. Your relationship with God must be standing before you get into marriage. And there's what we call intra-personal relationship. That's your relationship with God and with yourself. The interpersonal relationship before you get to know your wife and mix with other people. Praise the Lord. To God be the glory. I think I've done a little that I know. I said it, I'm not a preacher, but I can say a little about the Bible and guide people. And I thank God for this privilege given to me. And I thank God for the life of the pastorate, for the opportunity. I never thought of it. I never thought I would preach before the brethren like this. When pastor said, you are preaching on Sunday, my heart skipped. How do I go about it? My wife said, prepare the word. I said, I will prepare it. To deliver it is another thing. And I pray that Holy Spirit will guide each and every one of us to go the way we ought to go in the mighty name of Jesus. And if anyone has gone into error by any means or in any way, I pray the Lord Almighty will help and return back to the normal way the person ought to be in the mighty name of Jesus. Let's stand up and pray. Let's stand up and pray. Let's stand up and pray. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. That's what we call spirit of reduction. It reduces the status of a man. It reduces the status of a man. In any form, in any way, that your status has been reduced, Almighty God will restore back in the mighty name of Jesus. Let's pray unto the Lord this morning that in any form, in any way, that have been reduced in ministry, it might be in marriage, it might be in finances, it might be in the work of your hand, it might be in health. No one knows. It's only God that can restore back that status. And I pray right now, as we gather together to lift our voice unto the Lord, every status has been reduced. I pray the Lord restore back in the mighty name of Jesus. Let's begin to pray for spirit of error. Any error one has made in the time past, in any form, in any way, whether in our decision, whether in our thoughts, whether in our action, or what we say. Let's pray that God should clear off every error in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Let's pray against the spirit of error in everything we are doing, that the Holy Spirit be our guide and help us in everything that we do, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Let's pray for restoration and increase. Let's pray for restoration and increase. Father, we pray right now, restoration of every lost ground. We pray for every member of this assembly, a father in this assembly, a man in this assembly. Father, we pray for restoration as the head of the family, Lord. Every resources needed, both spiritually and physically. Lord, we pray, Lord, restore back in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. And we call upon you, Lord, increase in the land, that this land we dwell in, we will increase in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. For Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Let's pray concerning our children, every children in this assembly. We pray right now and we decree over them that they grow in wisdom and stature, in favor with God and with man, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Isaac went forward and increased. We will move forward and we increase in this land, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Our substance shall increase in the land, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Father, we thank you, we worship you, Lord. Blessed be your name forever. We thank you for a day like this, and we worship, we exalt you, Lord. Thank you, Father, for everything. We give you all the glory and honor, Lord. For in Jesus' precious name we have prayed. Father, we thank you for this great period. We worship and exalt you, Lord. For you have gathered us again this year. Lord, we pray, as we be going on in the journey of life, Lord, we will not experience any reduction in this assembly. In the mighty name of Jesus, we continue to increase more and more. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, numerically we increase. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, in word and in wisdom we increase. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, Father, we thank you, we worship you, Lord. And the benefit of this land, O Lord, we pray, none of it shall elude us. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, Father, we thank you, we worship you, Lord. Blessed be your name forever. For in Jesus' precious name we have prayed.
Let us stretch our hands to our brother that gave the word. We pray for him today. The word that he gave will not count against him on the judgment day. He will be a good father. And Father, let him finish the Christian race strong and let him finish well in the mighty name of Jesus. Announcement time. Announcement time. The church is cold. Announcement time. Today is Father's Day. Please, I will indulge each one of us to go around and say Happy Father's Day to the fathers in the house. Please. Happy Father's Day. Yes. Amen. Amen. Are there newcomers in the house? You must have attended any of our programs prior to today, and today is the first day you are in service with us on a day like this. Could you signify by raising up your hand? Is there any newcomer in church today? Amen. Let us remember to come to church on Tuesday for Digging Deep. 7 p.m., that's the starting time. And Thursday for prayers and revival hour. These are our program for the week. Please, we endure for each and every person to attend the programs. We are reminded of our church commitment, our building project. We encourage each and every person to contribute to the building project. God loves a cheerful giver. There's a POS that has been provided by the church for offering, tithe, vows, building funds. It's easy to use. When you use it, there are 2 receipts that will come out. We have the merchant copy and the customer's copy. Please endeavor to keep the customer's copy and put the merchant copy in an envelope. The envelope should be addressed appropriately, and please write your name, and please do not forget to put the merchant copy for reconciliation purpose. Please, Brother Braden and Brother Tolu will always be available to help. There will be summer Bible camp organized for children between the ages of 6 and 12. Theme of the program is the cross of Jesus. Date, 13th July 2019. Venue will be St. Mary's Canadian 1007 Windsor Street, Saskatoon. Time is between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. The price for each child is $25. Registration is inclusive in the fund. Meal, craft, souvenirs, bouncing castle. Please meet the ushers if you are interested. Good news, good news, good news. To the glory of God, a bouncing baby boy was born into the family of the Jagedes. Mother and child are doing great. An army has been added to Grace Sanctuary. To God's be the glory. Let us find time to visit them and rejoice with them. All members of the media team, media department are to wait behind after service. Also, the youth are to wait behind after service for a brief meeting. We have a prayer box at the back of the church. It's for you to drop your prayer request for the Salvation Army to pray for your request. We want to inform all that we want to inform you that all our recorded services are on Facebook and YouTube. Just search RCCG Grace Sanctuary Parish, Saskatoon. And you will find all the videos and on the social media. For further announcements, the pastorate would give us the message. Today is Father's Day. The church is so scanty, but we give glory to God. It's not easy to be a father, just as it has been said earlier. Anyone could be a father, but it takes a special person to be a dad. You have various fathers. You have different type of fathers. You have biological fathers. You have adopted fathers. You have godfathers. You have responsible fathers. You have poor fathers. You have rich fathers. But it takes a special one to be a daddy. And we are all children of God. And God is our daddy. To God be the glory.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Well, it is time for the men to give thanks to the Lord. I believe we have many reasons to thank God as men. We are not just men. God has made us men, and he has really made us men in his vineyard. It's one of the principal reasons why we need to be thankful to God. As my brother just said now, there are many men. There are men now that are in the bar and beer parlor. But we thank God that we are in his presence and we are in his midst. And that's one of the reasons we should be thankful. Another reason we should be thankful to God is that God has given us adorable wives, beautiful wives that we treasure. And it's by his grace that we still have them today. Then another thing is that we have to remember that children are from God. And we really bless God and we thank God for the great addition and for giving us children that are ready to be in his vineyard. A typical example came to mind now. When my brother was giving the word, I saw one of our small children beating the drum. That's a good stepping stone into his vineyard. It's a way to build up a child. And it's not by our power, but because the child has been in the right environment. We bless God for all this. So it's time for men to give thanks to the Lord. I want us to dance right from the back to the front. God help us.
Hallelujah. Everybody praise the Lord now. I will praise. Hallelujah. Please, all the men, we need you this way. Please come aside. Please go to the back and dance all the way. Please, all men, go there and dance. Everybody praise the Lord now. I will praise him every day. Praise him every day. Everybody praise the Lord now. I praise him every day. All men praise the Lord now. Come on, let us praise him every day. All men blow your trumpets. Blow your trumpet. Oh, all men blow your trumpet. Come on, let us blow your trumpet. Jehovah reigns. I can't see our daddy dancing at all. We have to dance. Hallelujah. Jehovah reigns. Jehovah reigns. Oh, Jehovah reigns. Oh, you are lifted up. Oh, you are lifted up. Above every principality. Above every power. Oh, you are lifted up. Lord, you are lifted up. You are God. You are not just people. You are not just a Joe. You are a great God. You are God. You are God. You are just you are not just a Joe. You are a great God. You are big. You are big. You are big. You are big. Daddy oh, wá pẹ́ láyé. Daddy oh, wá jẹ́wọ́ mọ́. Ẹni bá ní kò ní rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Afọlójú, akósẹ́nu tírélà. Daddy oh, wá pẹ́ láyé. Daddy oh, wá jẹ́wọ́ mọ́. Ẹni bá ní kò ní rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Apẹ́ láyé. Afọlójú, akósẹ́nu tírélà. Baba lókè. Baba lókè. Baba mi lókè. Baba mi lókè. Baba mi lókè. Baba lókè. Ọwọ́ ojú baba lókè. Baba lókè. Yeah, carry me dey go, Jehovah carry me dey go, carry me dey go, Baba carry me dey go, Baba carry me dey go, holy are you Lord of creation. Worthy is your name. We worship your majesty. Sing awesome God, awesome God. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, you are Lord, you are Lord. Mighty are your standing
Spell Jesus. Give me J. E. S. U. S.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for your children. We thank you for your sons. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for what you have been doing in their various homes. We thank you, Lord Father, for making these ones able to be the head. King of glory, we say thank you. Be thy exalted, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus. In your infinite mercy, you have counted these ones to be called men, to be the fathers. Father in heaven, we worship, we adore you. We thank you, Lord Father, because we know it is you that has been sustaining them. It is you that has been sustaining their homes and their families. Father in heaven, we bless your name for the wisdom that we are giving unto them, even that they have been using to pattern their homes in the way of the Lord. King of glory, we say thank you. Be the exalted, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus. I inscribe each and every one of them into your able and Father, that you continue to uphold them and their homes in the mighty name of Jesus. You who has begun a new thing in them, Lord Father, I know that you are on the throne, that you'll be able to complete it. Father, I pray that you continue to uphold each and every one of them and their homes and their children in the mighty name of Jesus. I pray, Father, you have made them to be the head. Father, the grace to remain, to continue to be the head, grant unto them in the mighty name of Jesus. The requirements, the qualities of the head, Lord Father, I pray, continue to bestow upon them in the mighty name of Jesus. I pray, Father, as you have made these ones, Lord Father, to be the priest in their homes. I pray, King of Glory, continue to grant them the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding that they require to pattern their homes in the way of the Lord in the mighty name of Jesus. They will not fail in their responsibilities in the mighty name of Jesus. I pray, Father, that these ones, as you make them to be the man, that will be the provider for their homes. I pray, Father, they will not lack any good thing in the mighty name of Jesus. Whatever they lay their hand upon, Lord Father, shall prosper in the mighty name of Jesus. And in your vineyard, Lord Father, they will continue to be pillars in the mighty name of Jesus. King of Glory will say thank you. And I pray for all their families, all their homes, Lord Father. I pray that you will abide with them in their homes in the mighty name of Jesus. As you have said in your word, Father, you will neither leave them nor forsake them in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord Father, because I pray answering God will give you glory forever. For in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. It's time for tithes and offering. Let us package our tithes and offering. As a reminder, we have two types of offering, regular tithes and offering, and the building fund offering. As we give, the Lord will bless us. Philippians 4:19 says, "And my God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus." As we all know that God is ever faithful, that is why we should always be trusting him as our supply. God will always supply our needs just like he promised. So let us all raise our offerings and say a word of prayer for that special need and that special heart desire, and the Lord will meet us at our point of our needs. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen.
Come and see the Lord is good. Come and see the Lord is good. Oh, there is nothing he cannot do. Come and see the Lord is good. Come and see the Lord. Oh, come and see the Lord is good. Oh, come and see the Lord is good. There is nothing he cannot do. A mighty God,
oh, he's a mighty God.
Jesus is a mighty God.
He's a mighty God.
Oh, he's a big God.
He's a mighty God.
Oh, he's a mighty God.
He's a mighty God.
Oh, all powers bow before him.
He's a mighty God.
All powers bow before him.
He's a mighty God.
Hallelujah. Eh. Hallelujah, eh. Hallelujah, oh, hallelujah, eh. Hallelujah, hallelujah, eh. We are praising the Lord, hallelujah, 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 eh. We are praising the Lord, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Let us pray. Lord, you have commanded us to honor you with our wealth, and I pray that you be honored greatly this day as we give to you what is already yours. Bless these cheerful givers and bless the offerings to give in Jesus' name.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Praise Master Jesus. Happy Father's Day again to the men. And I have a message for the church from the men. You know, Father's Day is only once a year. And the men want to eat together today with their children and their wives. So please, after the service, don't be in a haste to go. The men want to do a round table today. So there is a message for each family. So there's a table for each family. You don't want your family's table to be empty. So please, after the service, quickly, there will be an arrangement to rearrange the church. Tables will be set, and family per table. We want to eat together today. This is an appeal from the men. You don't want your family's table to be empty today. Please don't be in a haste. It is one Father's Day in a year. Don't be in a rush. We know we have other places to go. Let us celebrate today as one family. And God will bless all of us in Jesus' name. Praise the Lord.
Let us pray as we close the service. Father in heaven, we thank you, bless your name for the service of today. We thank you for what you have used even the men to do today. King of glory, we say thank you. Be the accepted, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus. As your children be going this week, Lord Father, go before them in Jesus' name. Every arrow, the one that fly by day, even the one that fly by night, none shall come near their dwellings in the mighty name of Jesus. I pray, Father, that every agenda of evil concerning them, Lord Father, you shall nullify it in the mighty name of Jesus. Your will, Lord Father, shall come to pass in their life this week in the mighty name of Jesus. King of glory, we say thank you. By the time they shall come back next week, Lord Father, let them come back with good news and testimony in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord Father, because I pray answering God, for in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Before we share the grace, let's bless the food that we are going to eat. Father in heaven, we thank you for the food that you have provided for your children to eat this afternoon. Father, we pray that your blessings will be upon that food in the mighty name of Jesus. Because your blessing will be upon that food, it means the food will nourish our body in the mighty name of Jesus. And those who have none to eat, Lord Father, you shall provide for them. In the mighty name of Jesus, we sanctify that food in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Let's share the grace in fellowship. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Praise the Lord. Let's